Today we're stepping into one of the most touching stories in the Bible, the story of Ruth. It's a story of loss, loyalty, courage and redemption. It shows us how ordinary choices, made with faith and kindness, can open the door to extraordinary blessings. As we follow Ruth and Naomi on their journey from Moab to Bethlehem, you'll see how God quietly worked behind the scenes to turn sorrow into hope. Let's begin the story of Ruth. Long ago there was a small town called Bethlehem. In that time, food was running out. There was no rain, no harvest, and the fields were dry. Because of the hunger, a man named Elimelech made a hard choice. He took his wife Naomi and their 2 sons and left Bethlehem. They went to another land called Moab, hoping to find food and a new life. In Moab they lived as strangers. They did not know many people. They spoke a different language. But for a while, life seemed a little better. The 2 sons of Naomi grew up and married women from Moab. One wife was named Orpah. The other wife was named Ruth. Ruth was kind, gentle and faithful. She came from a different people and had different customs, but she married into Naomi's family with love. But sorrow came to the house. First Elimelech died. Naomi lost her husband and became a widow in a foreign land. Some years passed. Then both of her sons also died. Now Naomi had no husband, no sons, no grandchildren. All that was left were the 2 young widows, Orpah and Ruth. Imagine the pain of Naomi. She had left her home because of hunger, hoping for a better life, and now she had lost almost everything. Her heart was heavy. She felt empty. She felt old and tired. One day Naomi heard news from Bethlehem. The famine was over. God had given food again to his people. There was bread in the house of bread. Naomi decided to return home. She packed her few things and began the road back. Her daughters-in-law walked with her. But on the road Naomi stopped. She turned to Orpah and Ruth and said with a trembling voice, "My daughters, go back to your own mothers. May the Lord be kind to you as you have been kind to me. May you find new husbands and a new home." Both Orpah and Ruth cried. They loved Naomi and did not want to leave her. Naomi kissed them and tried again to send them away. She said she was too old to have more sons. She said she had nothing to give them. Finally Orpah kissed Naomi goodbye. She turned back to Moab with tears. But Ruth stayed. She held on to Naomi. Naomi said, "Look, your sister-in-law is going back. You should go with her." Then Ruth spoke the words that still echo today. "Do not tell me to leave you. Where you go, I will go. Where you live, I will live. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord punish me if I do anything but stay with you. Nothing but death will separate me from you." Naomi saw Ruth's face and knew she would not change her mind. So the 2 women walked on together, step by step, toward Bethlehem. When they reached the town, the people looked and whispered, "Can this be Naomi?" they asked. But Naomi said, "Do not call me Naomi, which means pleasant. Call me Mara, which means bitter. For the Lord has dealt bitterly with me. I went away full but I have come back empty." Yet Ruth was at her side, quiet and faithful. Together they began a new chapter. It was the beginning of the barley harvest in Bethlehem. Naomi and Ruth had very little food. They were poor. Naomi was older and tired. Ruth was younger and strong. Ruth wanted to help. She said to Naomi one morning, "Let me go to the fields. I will gather leftover grain. Maybe someone will be kind to me." In Israel, the law of God allowed poor people and strangers to pick up what the harvesters dropped. It was called gleaning. Ruth put on her simple clothes, covered her head from the sun, and walked out to the fields. She came to a field without knowing whose it was. She began to gather grain behind the workers. The sun was hot. The work was hard. But Ruth kept going quietly. The field belonged to a man named Boaz. Boaz was a rich man. He owned many fields. He was also a good man who feared God. He was a relative of Elimelech, Naomi's late husband. That day Boaz came to the field to greet his workers. He said, "The Lord be with you," and they answered, "The Lord bless you." Boaz looked around and saw Ruth. He asked the overseer, "Who is that young woman?" The overseer said, "She is the Moabite woman who came back with Naomi. She asked if she could gather grain behind the harvesters. She has been here since morning. She has worked hard and rested only a little." Boaz walked over to Ruth. His voice was kind. He said, "My daughter, listen to me. Do not go and glean in another field. Stay here with my servant girls. Watch the field where the men are harvesting and follow along after the girls. I have told the men not to harm you. When you are thirsty, go and drink from the jars the men have filled." Ruth was surprised. She bowed down with her face to the ground and asked, "Why are you so kind to me, a foreigner?" Boaz said, "I have been told all about you. I know what you did for your mother-in-law after your husband died. You left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Ruth's heart felt warm. She said, "You have comforted me and spoken kindly to me, even though I am not as important as your servant girls." At mealtime Boaz called Ruth to come and eat. She sat with the harvesters. Boaz offered her bread. She dipped it in wine vinegar. He gave her roasted grain. She ate all she wanted and even had some left over. When she went back to work, Boaz gave special orders to his men. He said, "Let her gather among the sheaves. Do not stop her. Pull out some stalks for her from the bundles and leave them for her to pick up. Do not rebuke her." So Ruth gathered grain until evening. She beat out what she had collected. It was about an ephah of barley, enough to fill a large basket. She picked up the heavy grain and carried it back to town. She also carried the leftover food from lunch to give to Naomi. When Naomi saw what Ruth had brought home, she was amazed. "Where did you glean today? Where did you work? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." Ruth told Naomi about the man. She said, "The name of the man I worked with today is Boaz." Naomi's eyes lit up. "The Lord bless him. He has not stopped showing his kindness to the living and the dead. That man is our close relative. He is one of our kinsman redeemers." Then Ruth told her everything Boaz had said. Naomi smiled and said, "It will be good for you, my daughter, to go with his girls, because in someone else's field you might be harmed." So Ruth stayed close to the servant girls of Boaz to glean until the barley harvest and wheat harvest were finished. All that time she lived with her mother-in-law. Time passed. The barley harvest ended, and the wheat harvest began. All this time Ruth had been going to Boaz's fields. She brought food home every day. She worked hard and stayed close to the young women who worked for Boaz. People in Bethlehem saw her kindness and her good name began to grow. Naomi also noticed. Her heart was no longer as bitter as before. She began to hope again. One evening she spoke to Ruth with gentle words. "My daughter," Naomi said, "I want to find a home for you. I want you to be safe and provided for. You have been kind to me. Now I must be kind to you. Boaz, whose servant girls you have been with, is our relative. Tonight he will be winnowing barley at the threshing floor." The threshing floor was a flat, open place where farmers separated grain from straw. After the day's work, men would sleep there to guard the harvest. Naomi gave Ruth a careful plan. "Wash yourself. Put on perfume. Dress in your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor, but do not let him know you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, notice the place where he lies. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do." Ruth did not argue. She trusted Naomi. "I will do everything you say," she answered. That night Ruth went quietly to the threshing floor. She watched from a distance as Boaz ate, drank, and his heart was glad. When he lay down at the far end of the grain pile, she waited until he was asleep. Then she approached softly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night Boaz woke up. He turned and was startled. There was a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am Ruth, your servant," she said. "Spread the corner of your garment over me, for you are a kinsman redeemer." This was not a bold or improper act. It was a humble request for protection, a way of saying, "Please take me under your care according to God's law." Boaz's voice grew soft. "The Lord bless you, my daughter," he said. "This kindness is greater than that which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, do not be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All the people of my town know that you are a woman of noble character." Boaz then explained something important. "It is true that I am a kinsman redeemer. But there is another relative who is closer than I. Stay here for the night. In the morning I will speak to him. If he is willing to redeem you, good, let him redeem you. But if he is not willing, as surely as the Lord lives I will do it. Lie here until morning." So Ruth lay at his feet until dawn. Before it was light enough for anyone to recognize another person, she got up to leave. Boaz said, "No one must know that a woman came to the threshing floor." He also said, "Bring me the shawl you are wearing and hold it out." He poured 6 measures of barley into it and placed it on her shoulders. Ruth went back to town while the sky was still gray. Naomi was waiting. "How did it go, my daughter?" she asked. Ruth told her everything Boaz had done and said. She showed her the grain he had given her, saying, "He gave me these 6 measures of barley, saying, 'Do not go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed.'" Naomi smiled and said, "Wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens. The man will not rest until the matter is settled today." The next morning Boaz kept his word. He went straight to the town gate, the place where legal matters were settled. He sat down and waited. Soon the other relative, the one who was closer to Naomi's family, passed by. Boaz called to him, "Come over here, my friend, and sit down." The man came and sat. Boaz also invited 10 of the elders of the town to sit with them as witnesses. When everyone was seated, Boaz explained the matter. He said, "Naomi, who has come back from Moab, is selling the piece of land that belonged to our brother Elimelech. I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of these witnesses. If you will redeem it, do so. But if not, tell me, so I will know. For no one has the right to do it except you, and I am next in line." The man said quickly, "I will redeem it." Then Boaz said, "On the day you buy the land from Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of the dead man, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property." At this the man hesitated. He said, "Then I cannot redeem it because it might endanger my own estate." "You redeem it yourself." "I cannot do it." In Israel at that time, taking off one's sandal was the way of making an agreement official. So the man removed his sandal and handed it to Boaz. He said, "Buy it yourself." This was a public sign before all. Then Boaz stood and said to the elders and all the people, "Today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Chilion and Mahlon. I have also taken Ruth the Moabitess, Mahlon's widow, as my wife. I will maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among his family or from his hometown. Today you are witnesses." The elders and all the people at the gate said, "We are witnesses. May the Lord make this woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel. May you have standing in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. Through the children the Lord gives you by this young woman, may your family be like that of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah." So Boaz took Ruth and she became his wife. Their marriage was a sign of kindness, loyalty, and God's care. The Lord blessed them, and Ruth became pregnant and gave birth to a son. The women of the town came to Naomi and said, "Praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you without a kinsman redeemer. May he become famous throughout Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you and who is better to you than 7 sons, has given him birth." Naomi took the baby in her arms. She cared for him as if he were her own. The women living there said, "Naomi has a son." And they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, who was the father of David, Israel's great king. Through Ruth, a foreigner from Moab, God brought blessing not only to Naomi's house but to all of Israel. From this line, many generations later, would come Jesus the Messiah, the Redeemer of the whole world. Take a moment and think about what you have heard. Ruth began as a poor widow in a foreign land. She had no promise of a future. Yet she showed loyalty, hard work, humility, and courage. She chose to follow the God of Israel even when she had nothing to gain. In return, God wove her life into his plan of redemption. Naomi, once bitter and empty, ended her days with arms full of a grandchild. Boaz, a man of honor, acted with integrity and became a channel of blessing. All 3 lives show us that God is always at work, even in the small decisions, even in the quiet fields. This story tells us that no one is too far away for God to bring near. No one is too small for God to notice. No act of kindness is wasted. God can take loss and turn it into hope. He can take outsiders and make them part of his family. As you end this story, imagine Ruth holding her baby, Naomi smiling, and Boaz standing beside them. A new family has begun. A new chapter has opened. And from this small, faithful story, the great story of salvation will one day unfold. Thank you for joining me on this deep journey through the story of Ruth. We've watched her move from loss and hardship to loyalty, love and redemption, and seen how God's unseen hand guided every step. Her life is not just an old story, it's a living lesson for us today. Faithfulness, kindness, and trust can open the door to a future far greater than we imagine. If this story inspired you, please like, share and hit the button subscribe so you won't miss the next powerful Bible story we'll bring to life. May the same God who cared for Ruth and Naomi also guide and bless you. Until next time, keep walking in faith and hope.